Do not confuse this with treatment or mental health advice or direction. Nothing on this podcast is made to supplement or supersede the relationship and direction of your mental health caretakers. Although David Kozlowski is a licensed marriage and family therapist, he is not functioning as a certified mental health professional in this environment. And same applies to any professional who may appear on the OG Therapy podcast. Welcome to the OG Therapy.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of OG Therapy. And you guys, if you're looking for this episode on YouTube, it's going to be audio only. So I'm excited to announce we got a new studio, and not just any studio, a studio sponsored by Happy Rabbit Productions. We're going to be telling you guys all about Happy Rabbit Productions. They're an amazing studio. They're amazing abilities to film high level. I mean, we're talking Hulu ready, Netflix ready documentaries and films. They're our new corporate sponsor. So we're going to be talking more about Happy Rabbit Productions. And so when you see the new studio, if you're interested in leveling up your podcast game, and if you have aspirations to be at the highest level of the podcast game, Happy Rabbit Productions is your one-stop shop needs for all video productions as high as quality all the way up to documentaries and full feature presentation movies. So thank you for Happy Rabbit Productions for sponsoring us, and we look forward to you guys seeing our new setup in just a couple of weeks. We're going to kick that off in the beginning of March. So until then, we're going to keep on answering some questions to help you parents, you teens out there that are struggling in all different types of relationships. And this question we got hot off the press from a dad. I'm going to split this up into two ways of answering this question. So he's got two questions for me, but they're both related to his daughter and a dating situation. But I'm going to break it up into two separate episodes. So the first episode right now, I'm going to answer this question. And the second episode, I'll answer the second question. I'm going to read them both right now, but I'm going to answer the first one in this episode. So the first question is, not sure if you've done a podcast on this. My question is, how do I handle my 14-year-old daughter with the choice of boyfriend she's with? The choice of boyfriend and she's with and she has right now. I don't care for him and don't know what to do. Thanks. Now, he sent me another question a little bit later to add on to that question. And he said, also, how do I handle when the relationship gets too serious and they're talking about marriage and such when she's only 14 years old? Try not to freak out. Thanks. Well, Dad, I give you permission to freak out. Not that you needed my permission, because I'm pretty sure you've been doing enough of that as it is. I'm going to make this personal, Dad. And for all you dads out there, I'm going to take us back to a time when we were young men, we're dating and we're looking for that young woman of our dreams, and we had aspirations, or not aspirations, but when we found a girl that we had a big crush on and she liked us, our mind starts to wander into places of marriage and we're going to be together forever. Remember those times, Dad? And you remember old school guys, especially old school dads and uncles and moms back in the day when we were growing up. If you guys are in your 40s or 50s, when we were growing up, I remember what it was like when you'd proclaim your dreams about the person you're dating when you're younger. And as soon as you did that, it was usually received with, shut up. You're not going to be dating that girl. You're an idiot. Like, there's no way you guys be together when you get older. You need to date more people. You probably are going to laugh about this someday, blah, 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 blah. This is usually the reaction, if not worse, that someone my age would get. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you got that type of reaction. I remember the first time I tried to tell my mom, my Samoan grandmother who adopted me, that I was in love with this girl, and she looked at me and she said, Kavika, because that means David in Hawaiian. She goes, Kavika, I love you, but sometimes you talk stupid. So that wasn't quite the response I was looking for from my mom. But looking back on that, she was definitely right. But as this dad knows, and all the dads out there listening to this know, this is not an approach that's going to be received very well in 2025 by a 14-year-old, because 14-year-olds are used to being special. They're used to getting what they want. And even if you feel that you're pretty firm with your kids. I doubt you're as firm with your kids as your parents were with you. So there's going to be a lot of leniency as you're, raising your kids. So I just want to state that before I answer the question, that dads, every single one of us, we all heard this when we were a kid. And we want to say this to our kids, that it doesn't matter. This relationship's not going to last. But the concern and the fear and the freak out is that if they're 14 years old and they start thinking they're going to get married someday, maybe they want to pretend to be married. Wink, wink. You can't see me because it's only an audio only episode, but I'm saying maybe they want to start to follow through on some of those biological urges known as sexual urges. And maybe they want to test the boundaries. Maybe they want to see exactly what it's like to play house, so to speak, and pretend to be the mommy and the daddy or the husband and the wife. That obviously is something that no sane parent would want their 14-year-old to be doing, to become sexually active. So I'm taking this into consideration when I give my answer to this question, because I realize that the freak out is real. There's real concern. And we all grew up and we knew guys and girls. If any of you are listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, I was sexually active when I was 14 years old, well then you definitely know a guy or girl. But we all knew guys or girls and for me, I remember in junior high, I went to Valley Junior High School in Carlsbad, California. The first week of school, I heard this rumor that this girl had slept with this guy. And I remember I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what? And I remember walking around and looking at her at school, just going, oh my gosh, that girl's on a whole nother level. Like, wait, what? I think I'd kissed a girl once maybe. And I just remember that was whoa, it was such a shocker of a thing. And it's become less of a shocker of a thing nowadays. It's become more common. And so I know that most teenagers are not socially active at 14 years old, but I also know that parents, when they start hearing their kids talking about being in love with someone and potentially marrying them, it's going to cause them to freak out because they think, hey, this might be on the menu for my kid. My kid might be one of those kids that becomes sexually active. And even though you might have already had conversations with your kids about not being sexually active and waiting till they're older or till they're married and things like that, there's a real fear. Because when we were young, we knew kids that did that, or maybe you were one of those parents that did that. I've had so many parents that came to me and said, I don't want my kid to be sexually active, and they're acting just like me. And I say, okay, well, were you sexually active? And then the mom tells me I was pregnant in high school as a teenager. So the moms that I've talked to, or dads I've talked to that said, hey, they got their girlfriend pregnant in high school. When I talk to them, they have a different level of fear and worry and concern because they've actually lived it. In fact, those parents they seem to be like a hypocrite on the outside, even though they're not. They just have more reason to be fearful of that situation. So that's my setup for this, for all you dads out there. You're supposed to be scared. You're supposed to be freaked out. And you also know what guys think, and you know how horny teenage boys are. We don't know how horny teenage girls are because we weren't one of those. But from what I've heard, is that some teenage girls have a strong sexual desire at a young age. And then on top of it, if young people were sexually molested at a young age, it can cause them to be hypersexual at a younger age. So there's all these things. You never know what kid is hanging out with your kid that was possibly sexually molested. And I'm not saying that to be crass or throw that out there like it's no big deal. I'm being honest. When kids have sexual experiences at a very young age because they've been molested, raped, or abused, or whatever, sometimes it does cause them to be very fearful and hide and not want to be sexual and hide their body and be very, shy and guarded. And on the other hand, it can also do the opposite. It can cause them to be sexually active. Then on top of that, this is a teenage daughter. So Dad, if you haven't freaked out yet about me answering your question, let me add you one more thing for you to freak out about. Pornography addiction in teenage boys. It's a thing. In fact, pornography use, pornography abuse, pornography dependency, and pornography addiction are all a thing. Every teen boy walking around out there, if you weren't scared already, here you go. Look at the phone that you're holding right now, because you're probably listening to this podcast on phone. Look at the phone and just realize, and I heard this from a comedian, so I'm stealing someone's line. I can't remember the comedian's line. He pulled out his phone out on stage and was holding his phone. He goes, you guys want to know what I have on my phone? Everybody's just kind of looking at him. He goes, all the pornography ever made in the world is in my hand right now. So just think about that for a second. We don't know what teen boys are abusing pornography. We don't know how it's caused them to objectify girls. We don't know if they're like a normal teen boy that's like, horny and wanting to hook up with a teenage girl, but too scared to try anything. Or if they're horny and want to hook up with a teenage girl, but, if a girl says, no, I don't want to go any further, they stop. We don't know if they're like that kind of normal teenage stuff that we'd be familiar with, because back when I was growing up, there was always the rumors of the girl that had sexual experiences early, but there's always the rumors of the guy that was sexually perverse and trying to get girls to do crazy stuff. I can think of the guy's name in my high school right now, and he even put it in the yearbook about how many girls he de-virginized. Like, this is crazy. I mean, of course, I grew up a long time ago, and this guy did receive the laying on of hands from a couple boys that did not like that he did that, and he got what he deserved, in my opinion. But my point is that now there's always been typical boys, there's always been hypersexual boys, but then you add the potential serious pornography addiction, which creates things to be like a supernatural or super normal. So it causes you to actually, if you're a teen boy and you're looking at pornography all the time, it causes you to think that these things are normal and acceptable, and these are things you should expect from women. So hopefully I got enough fear already sparked up in you, dad, that answered this, asked this question. And for all you dads out there, before I answer this question, because I wanted to put all that out there, because every time I talk to a dad, they come into me and they tell me a question like this. And then as they start to answer, they go, but you don't understand, but like, what about other boys? And what about this? And what about that? Then I got to take them down a memory lane and remind them what it was like when they were a teenage boy, when they were trying to, sneak a Penthouse or a Playboy magazine from underneath their friend's dad's bed when they're hanging out their house. I'm making up a scenario and situation, because growing up, if you ever wanted to see some sort of pornography, that's usually the steps that you had to take back when I was growing up. But nowadays, kids, they're click, click, boom, 2 clicks away from having a complete menu of all the pornography in the world. And that is not good for their brain development. That's not good for them to see women as loving human beings that they need to nurture and care for and slowly date before they have a sexual relationship with. Whew. Okay. So now that we got all that out there, let me give you my suggestions to the first answer of that question. So let me just repeat the question one more time. He said, not sure if you've done a podcast on this. My question is, how do I handle my 14-year-old daughter with the choice of boyfriend she has right now? I don't care for him and don't know what to do. Well, first thing I want to let you know is you're going to have to become a good actor. That's right. See, the days of sitting on the porch on a rocking chair, cleaning your shotgun. Yeah, ding, dang it, these boys come try to take my daughter. I'm going to scare them with the shotgun. Tell them, you better be home on time with my daughter, boy. So I'm going to shoot you, boy. Those days are over. Because teen boys nowadays, if you haven't looked at YouTube, if you haven't looked online lately, they have more courage and they have more muscles in their mouth, in their jaws, to talk trash and to disrespect adult males and just adults in general than ever before in the history of the world, right? They watch other kids be pranksters online. They watch other kids talk trash to adults, and they're less fearful because they're used to talking trash online with very limited to no consequences usually. And so this is something that is not, you can't scare boys. It's not like a small town. It's like, me and my 3 boys are going to stand there and we're going to intimidate this kid to bring home our daughter. I'm not saying that can't be intimidating. I'm saying it's less intimidating now than it was in years past. I used to joke around when my daughter's first born, all my buddies called me up like, oh yeah, so you like girls so much, God gave you a girl, ha, ha, ha. And they go, what are you going to do when she brings, when boys come over to pick her up, you just need to sit out there with the shotgun, or you going to threaten them, this and that and the other? And I said, no, I'm not going to. And this was back, I think like 2010, when not a lot of people were doing jiu-jitsu back then. I was training jiu-jitsu. I still am, but back then I was training a lot. And I said, yeah, I go, no, I'm just going to, that's why I train jiu-jitsu. That way, if anyone disrespects my daughter, I can just slowly put them to sleep and say, you're officer. When the police show up, I don't know what happened. He just fell asleep for no reason. See, there's no marks. There's nothing wrong with him. All joking aside, you need to play a different role than the men of the old school days of trying to threaten kids. You need to be an actor. So the role I want you to play as an actor is I want you to play the actor of the cool dad that's going to bro up this boy that your daughter is dating. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would I bro up a guy I don't like? It's because, like I've mentioned many, many times on this podcast, using connection is clever. Using force, using intimidation, you show your hand as if it's a card game. You're showing your hand. You're showing, I do not like you dating my daughter. I do not like you. And unknowingly, you're pitting yourself between your daughter and this. You're pitting your daughter in between you and this boy. You're making a demand without realizing you're making a demand that your daughter is going to have to choose the boy or you. She can't choose both. And let me tell you something, dads out there. If you've been busy working and if you used to have a good relationship with your daughter when she's little, but you've been fighting with her and now she's causing problems in the family, or there's typical teenage stuff going on, and your connection with her is not as good as it used to be, this is a very dangerous game to play, trying to have her choose between you or this boy. Because what it does is it can create a trauma bond. It can create, hey, I'm mad at my dad because he took my phone away because I was talking to you all night long. And then the boyfriend says, yeah, I don't think he likes me. Last time I was over there, he's threatening me. He's being to me. He's giving me those mean looks. And he plays the victim card. Dads out there, you guys know the victim card, because we've all played it with our wives and the girls we were dating to get them to pay more attention to us, to choose us over their family, over their friends. Whenever we're feeling insecure as a man that a girl has other people in her ear, her friends or family, saying negative things about us, then a lot of times guys will play the victim card, or they'll wait to those friends or those parents upset the girl, and then we'll go to the girl and we'll gaslight her. Go, yeah, I've noticed your dad has been really mean lately. Yeah, I noticed that your one friend. Now, this is always the friend that talks the most trash about the boyfriend. The boyfriend always say, yeah, your one friend, I don't think she likes me. Like, yeah, every time I'm around her, she just gives me mean looks. And that may be true, but every guy out there that wants to be able to have an advantage and have more control over the girl he's dating or the wife he's in a relationship with, specifically if the relationship and the dating and the marriage isn't going well, every guy that is fearful of losing that connection is going to want to control those situations. So unknowingly, Dad, by you not going out of your way to invite that boy over, to have him over for dinner, to get to know him better, by you not doing those things, it sets the stage for manipulation down the road, for gaslighting, and for confrontation. And then she's going to have to choose between the two of you. See, if you don't like her boyfriend and she likes her boyfriend, then you're basically telling her you don't like her because he is now a part of her. For example, I'll use a smaller example. If your daughter loves a certain band, but you don't like that band because you think that music is crap. Or let's say she likes a certain style of clothes and you don't like that style of clothes because you think it's crap. Not necessarily because you think it's like sexual or provocative, but you don't like it because you don't think it represents her well. It makes her look maybe like a homeless kid, all baggy, ripped jeans, stuff like that. So if you don't like those clothes, then you're telling her you don't like her. If you don't like, anything that she's really passionate about, you're telling her that you don't like her. Now, I know that's not what you're meaning, but I've talked to enough teenagers, that's the way they interpret it because it's really important to them. If you want to get your family to do something that's your favorite thing, you're super passionate about, like, yeah, let's all go watch this movie together. Like, yeah, we don't really want to go. We don't really like that movie. And you're like, but we've always liked that movie. And they're like, oh, well, we're over it now. But you force them anyways. You go sit in the movie theater, you're watching the movie with them, and they're on their phone, they're not paying attention. Not only are you not having a good time, it hurts your feelings because you're feeling like they don't like you because they don't like what you like. So I'm gonna give you guys some quick examples, not examples, but I'm gonna give you guys some quick advice of what to do. You need to go to your daughter if you've already showed that you are disinterested in him, don't like him. You need to apologize. You need to tell her, hey, listen, I know up to this point I haven't been as friendly, as nice, and I got to admit, I'm guilty as charged. I'm protective of my baby girl, and I love you. And I know I've said that I don't like him and stuff like that. But to be honest, I really haven't gotten to know him. I've always told you don't judge a book by its cover, so I got to do the same thing. Let me invite him over. Let's, I'll be cool with him. I'll be chill with him. And when I'm around him, I'll try to find common ground, just get to know him better and just bro him up a little bit. Just make him feel comfortable and relaxed and secure, around us. Okay, time out real quick. By doing that, not only is that the right move, but it's also a way, as they say, keep your enemies close. Wink, wink again. Audio episodes, you can't see my winks. Because you don't want to keep them away, you want to keep them close. Now, in order to keep them close, after you say this to your daughter, you also have to follow it up with, don't ask the boy a bunch of freaking questions like a typical dad. Try to avoid all the dad jokes. Don't try to be joking with him in the way like you're trying to be super funny with him, because a lot of teenage boys right now are hella awkward. That's right, I said hella. I went to graduate school in the Bay Area for a couple years, picked up that saying, hella. Well, if you are constantly saying negative things about him, then you're not liking him. But then if you go and switch over and you start trying to joke with him and act like he's your buddy, you may make him feel uncomfortable and awkward because you're not really friends. That's why I said bro him up, in the sense that make him feel comfortable like a bro. Don't actually talk to him like a bro. Make him feel welcome in your house. But don't ask a bunch of questions like, what's he into? What do you like? Instead, make statements. Just say, hey, man, my daughter said that you're really into cars. I'm really into cars too. Tell me, don't make it a question. Say, tell me what type of cars you like. And then he may go, oh, I like Rice Rockets. I like, by the way, that's just a nickname for what they call like the Hondas, the Civics and stuff like that. Not trying to be racist, not like that. The fact that I even have to say that right now, you get what I'm saying, right? So, let's say he likes the Fast and Furious type cars. Let's just call it that, okay? Well, he starts talking about those cars. Well, let's say in your mind, you're like, I like American Muscle. I like Barracudas, Chevelles, Camaros, that type of stuff. Just go along with it. Like, oh, really? What type of engine you like? Man, how many horsepower does it have? Okay, cool. Show interest in something about the kid. Now, if the kid's socially awkward and uncomfortable, just keep on talking. Just say, hey, man, yeah, notice this, cars. What type of cars are you into? Oh, this type of car. If he doesn't really give you a lot of information, just be like, oh, man, I get it. It's like, honestly, I don't really know much about like Subarus and Hondas and these types of cars, whatever, but I know they're great cars. Like your generation's into more of those things. I'm into more of the muscle car, but cars are cars, man. Like a car guy is a car guy. I'm glad my daughter's dating a car guy, because, that makes me feel like we have something in common. Last thing you want is your daughter dating a guy that doesn't know how to fix a car, because what if something happens on the freeway and it breaks down? Give him compliments, make statements, make him feel comfortable. If you want to make your daughter's boyfriend feel comfortable, you have to find common ground, give compliments, and don't ask a lot of questions. You can take any question and put it in the form of a statement like I just did. Instead of saying, what kind of cars do you like? Say, oh, tell me what type of cars you're into. That way they know why you're asking. If you say, hey, what kind of cars do you like? He may feel weird, like, ooh, man, I saw him driving a Camaro out in the front, out in the driveway, and I don't want to say I like a Subaru because he's probably one of those guys who's going to make fun of Subarus. Yeah, don't even ask a question. Just tell him to tell you, okay? That is the best way to draw him in, okay? Next thing, you got to identify that you want him to protect your daughter and treat her well, even if they have problems. So once you start to get to know this kid a little bit, once you start to break the ice, make him feel comfortable, let him know. Say, hey, man, I just want to let you know, I know you and my daughter, she likes you a lot. You guys are in a great relationship. And be a little vulnerable. Say, obviously, as a dad, I want to protect my daughter. So I'm just letting you know, I'm not one of those old school dads. I'm not going to sit here and threaten you and say, if you ever treat my daughter bad, blah, 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 then I'm going to beat you up, because that's stupid. And I don't want to beat you up. I mean, my daughter likes you. However, on the same hand, if you and my daughter ever have any problems, I expect you to be a little old school. And what I mean by that is, don't break up with a text. Do it face to face. If you guys have issues, call and talk to each other, at least FaceTime each other so you can see each other. Kids nowadays, they have the habit of blocking each other, ghosting each other. So as long as you guys do that, and I'll tell my daughter to do the same. I'll tell her on the back end, say, hey, listen, if you start to like someone else, if you're interested in someone else, if you're not feeling the relationship anymore, you need to be honest with him. Don't lie to him. Be honest with him. Say those types of things to this young man, because what you're doing is you're telling him the rules of engagement. You're saying, here's what I expect. If you guys are going to be together, like, I expect you to respect her and I expect her to respect you. And if I hear you guys like being really negative and upset with each other, I'm not going to call you guys out in public, but I may pull you aside one-on-one and just kind of give you a little advice, only because I know you guys are just dating and trying to figure out this whole relationship thing. And I'm going to stay out of it, but I definitely want you guys to have a good dating relationship. Or if it doesn't work out and you go your own separate ways, I'd love for you guys still to be friends. You guys, every dad that's taken my advice and that has done this has had huge success. They've been able to find themselves in a situation where even if there's this boy starts to be mean or disrespectful in Texas, they can text the boy, they can call, leave a voicemail. I always tell them to leave a voice text message if the boy won't answer, which they usually don't when the girl's dads call. I say, hey, use a voice text. And I just tell them simply just tell them, hey, man, I know you and my daughter are going through a hard time right now. And like we talked about a long time ago, I just expect you guys to be respectful of each other. If you guys have something going on, why don't you just guys come over and I'll let you guys go out in the backyard and talk about it on the property. But doing it over text and fighting like this is probably not the best way to handle it. And I know you guys just really care about each other. That is how you can handle it if you've already set yourself up with it. But again, you guys, if you show anger and frustrations and show that you don't like him, it's pushing her more towards him. Then if they have problems, then it could be like, oh, well, your dad doesn't like me, so that's why we're breaking up. Or another issue that can happen is while they're together, if she starts to get angry and frustrated with you, if he feels like you don't like him, he may take some shots at you and start throwing some shade on you and maybe gaslighting his daughter to make her feel like you're the reason for all of her problems, and that him being a punk teenage boy is not her biggest issue. It's really her dad. And as you guys know, every father out there has a very special relationship with his daughter. You guys, I don't want any single boy to come in between you and your daughter at this age. And on top of it, I think Post Malone just made a song about that. It's like, yeah, you may be dating my daughter, but she's not yours. Like, she's my daughter. You're just the guy that she's dating right now. So please, you guys, take that advice. I'm going to follow up with next week's episode. We're going to ask the second part of this question about how do you help your daughter not have conversations about being married when she's just dating at just 14 or 15 years old. Until next time, you guys, follow us on all social media. Look for the new podcast studio to come up, and also look in March. We are going to be doing some dope TikTok content. We got a young woman that we're going to be introducing on the podcast that has volunteered to really help out the social health movement. So look forward for that. And until next time, be cool.